Hello, everybody. It's Jill of I'm Here With, and we have Dr. Saleste Mele, all the way in Calgary. And what you guys don't know is that we have known Celeste before we started even giving her in the entertainment industry. So we're really honored to have Celeste on and talk about all that she's been doing in the last 10 years, 5 years, especially in the arts in Calgary. We have had so much fun getting to know you on Jewel Cole's project back in the day with the whole gang out there. So let's talk about how we met before.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was actually a really fun project.
I'm blanking on the name. Oh my goodness.
Uh, Actors Anonymous, was that it? Or
Yes.
was that it?
I think so,
It's
yeah.
been so long that I can't remember. I know it was fun though, and there was a lot of really great people on cast, crew. Yeah,
Yeah. It, it
definitely felt
was
like a little family.
I'll throw up the picture that crew and cast picture that we had back in the day before COVID. We had lots and lots of people on set and supporting. We had some really great hair and makeup, and you play within it like this hilarious character that's just not happy, and thinks the character's very beautiful, and she's just so funny with all the other characters, kind of like so typical, kind of like when you go to an acting class and you're all like, who's the best? I love those scenes with you. That's still on Amazon Prime right now, hey?
Is it?
I think so. If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry, but I remember they released it
Oh,
out
that's
to the world
fantastic.
on some platform. So, guys, you got to Google Actors Anonymous by Jewel Cole. Celeste used to be like, you were going for it with the acting. And
Hmm.
nowadays, the acting of life is kind of kaput for everybody. But in the last few years, you went to school and became a doctor.
Yeah. So
Like,
I did finish my doctorate last year for metaphysical science, and have been really studying that pretty much my whole life. And it's been in the last, 7 years that I've really devoted a lot of my life to studying the metaphysics of our universe and consciousness. And yeah, it's definitely where I thrive and I love it a lot. And so I use sound as the foundation of the work that I do in my practice. But that involves many different aspects, whether we get together for ceremony using sound, plant medicine, all that sort of stuff is kind of where I like to sit. Um, yeah, and just I don't think I'll ever turn my back on acting. That's
oh,
definitely
never. You're
something
always.
that gives me great joy. But this is the metaphysics of life is where I like to for my brain to be in.
Yeah, honestly, it'll make you a better actor being more in touch with everything. Like you've always been somebody that's been very supportive and not dramatic in any format. Like being an actor, this happens, lots of interesting things happen within that because we have the ego. We have what our mind and our body and our soul wants to achieve. We came back here, or whatever you believe, to achieve something in life, to experience things. And some people, they have a horrible experience in life. But sometimes I feel like in a deeper way, with the soul learning, and if you're into spirituality, which you are, and if the audience is, there is something to it. If you put your mind to something, and people say this all the time, put your mind to something and you will achieve it. It's the truth. If you manifest, that's the biggest thing ever. And I think everybody can really relate to that. Manifesting, having a dream, and then it coming true. And at the end of it, you don't even realize what happened. How did this happen? But you dive right into like the celestial divine being of being a woman, and you support women. And these ceremonies that you have, I've seen so many cool pictures, and just alone on the photos it looks so fun, and like with the crystals and your big gong, and just like everyone being together, and I'm like, wow, it's like, are they family or something? Like, wow, They go through a real experience. So with your sacred realms that you created, it's a beautiful website. It explains almost everything you need to know, because people who are new into spirituality, looking within, energy healing, which you do, Reiki, all this stuff, people know about this stuff, right? But they
Mhm.
don't dive into what it is. So how does someone start with you guys? How does someone start tapping into the spiritual soul side of them when they've never even done it?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think, anyone coming to my class, you don't have to do anything. You
Oh.
can just show up and just be exactly as you are in the moment. And especially when we're working with vibration and sound in such a deep way that it's going to activate you, open you, cleanse you, however you want to look at it, in the way that works best for you. Like all you need to do is come with an open mind to receive the vibrations that are being emitted. And so, you talk about spirituality and what do we have to do? We don't have to do anything ultimately, right? It's about just showing up and being there and receiving whatever is going to come through. And so, like spirituality, it's like you just start planting seeds of little things, like whether it's through a conversation or a theme that we're working with in class that just might plant a seed, and then things will start to open up for you. And that's when your awareness, your consciousness starts to expand a little bit more, right? Like that starts to ruminate, and the universe will show you where you're supposed to be next, or
Ah, oh my goodness, you just said that. That's right on point for what happened to me just the other day. I was cultivating in my mind going to Vancouver recently, and I just said, okay, now I got to do it a different way because of everything that's going on with travel.
Mhm.
It just doesn't seem safe and all this stuff. So I had in my mind, oh my gosh, I've set up everything, everything set up, but I have a team out there that's just going to go and do it for me because they're already there. And I said to myself in the universe, I said, I don't feel good about this. Like, I gotta sometimes listen to what I feel, because I'm like a person that will go straight for, I want to do it. Let's go. Woo. And in the end, not being organized, if in that moment, and not conscious, just kind of like, okay, I want to do this. And you just plow to it. And then everything else gets crazed and it's not. So I've been working on that kind of stuff, and it's really worked. But I said to myself, I can't, I don't think it's good I go. And then just this morning, the lady who I'm working with writes the same thing.
Mhm.
And I didn't even say to her, I don't know if this is a bad idea. Like, are you sure? And she just said, the weather's not good, honey. We're going to have to reschedule. Okay, no problem. And I was like,
Mhm.
wow. So like the universe does listen to you. So there's so many elements, you guys. Like I just sit and feel like there is more. We are more. But
Mhm.
we're in this reality of life, the structure of how life should work so we can all be okay in the end. And I just feel like that construct really, for some people who have like ADD or adventurers or don't want family, like there's so many other people that can't live that structured lifestyle. And it's like they're different from everyone because of it. And now with the spirituality, there's like a words to say what's going on with how people feel and the connectivity of it. Like the way you talk on your site is beautiful. I want to speak like that. It really connects. Everything you say connects to the soul of like the energy healing. And I'm just like, wow, that sounds like a doctor. Kind of does. Like it's a doctor of medicine or something. So
Mhm.
let's get more into, somebody who's new and doesn't understand this. And like you said, you just come to a class and you do virtual classes too. Is this right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I just feel like if somebody doesn't know what to do, they should just try it. I don't
Mhm.
know if there is like they're going to know what's going to happen kind of thing when they get there. I don't think so, because each experience is so different with each teacher, hey?
It totally is, and each experience is different from each class, right? Like, I teach weekly sound healing classes, and I often get people coming up to say like that was completely different than the last time. My experience was completely different, and it will be because of where you are in this moment, right? Like things are always shifting within our subtle energy body, that nothing is ever going to feel the same or seem the same, or like we're going to have different experiences. Our consciousness is, it's ever expanding, right? So
Mhm.
experience is never going to be the same.
And that's kind of the beauty. Like there's people out there that don't like change, right? And that change in itself, like the location of where you are or what you're doing for your job or the people around you, people have to get grounded within them. Everyone's looked at yoga and seen running and all this stuff, but like what you do really pulls it all together, where you do implement yoga, you do implement sound and music and just the people together that are like-minded. That will in itself like probably inspire somebody to think differently, or listening to this kind of like-minded people, because when you're not around people that care about spirituality in any format, or about your soul, or about how you're feeling, it's like it's like business in life. I don't know if I'm making sense in that format, but sometimes I'll walk life and I'll just look at them and I'll think, you didn't care about if I had something to eat. You didn't care if I was okay that day. You didn't care that my energy was off. You didn't care. Like, that somebody won't even like stop and be conscious with you. Wait, how you doing? Like, wait, what happened to you just before I seen you? Like, are you in the right mindset to create right now? And some people will be like, we scheduled something and you didn't do it. And it's sometimes like people with anxiety and all this other stuff, it's more than just being not professional or not caring. There's other things going on. How do you talk about that, people who need healing?
Mm. Well,
It's a lot of thrown at you.
there's
I've been
like
very
so much
interested in
there.
this.
I think the first thing that really comes to mind that I just want to maybe plant a seed is, whenever I teach, I'm teaching a teacher training course or a sound class, or where we're bringing people together, whether it's ceremony or anything like that, the first thing that I usually do with people is I get them to tone together. And this is not a singing practice, this is a toning practice.
Mhm.
And toning can just be as simple as like the
The
sound, humming, right? Or om. Yep, om is a great one, because om, like, it opens us up, it clears our mind for a practice ahead. It sends a message to our parasympathetic nervous system to come into a state of rest and relaxation. There's all these different tools that we can use, but when we tone together, we actually release the oxytocin hormone, which is the trust hormone. So we begin to create this sense of safety, of trust within our group, so that people can allow the experience to happen, to
Mhm.
not judge it, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
to create a commonality within people, that we start to feel safe with each other. So that's the first thing that we do. And just on that note, no, literally, when we can use the humming, just the sound, to start to tune to our environment. So if there's something that's like coming at us, like if we have a lot of noise pollution, or there's fluorescent lightings or anything like that that's really starting to affect our energetic field,
Mhm.
then we can hum. And this doesn't have to be loud. It can be quiet. It can be so quiet that the person next to you doesn't even hear you. And that, what that does is it starts to reorientate our subtle energy field, that releases any disharmonies within our field. So that's a great, it's like a little ninja tip we can have in our back pocket. If you're starting to feel anxiety, if you're starting to, OCD, ADHD, anything
Mhm.
like this, humming for 3 minutes will start to calm you down. Will ease that anxiety.
Yeah,
Mm.
it forces you to get out of the state that you're in, and yeah, I can see that from a point of view of somebody that's like new to this. So, okay, maybe I'll try it, and I'll let the audience know if it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
um,
what was your question though?
hey, I get
Off
so off
topic.
topic. I'm so excited to talk to you. It was just more into how people can, start um realizing with themselves that they need healing, and
Mm,
what's the first step? Because
mm,
when somebody's going through breakups or life change or deaths or COVID issues that are happening. Um, I think it's just like the energy of the world right now is a lot of people are just kind of growly, and not so wanting to connect right away, because we have to connect in a different way. Like the value system of going for a coffee with somebody, you spend your time, you get ready, you go, you kind of make it public, even if you're doing a photo. Nowadays, just Zoom, you don't feel like, you're like, what's the value of like just talking to them online? But if that's how life is now, then that
Hmm.
is our new value. Our time has become, and scheduling, and that time period that you're on that video together is our new reality of connecting in some format. Like I think even after this COVID happens, I think this format will stay probably.
Well, it's pretty accessible for a lot of people, right? Like it's
Yeah. I
yeah.
like it. I like it technically. Like it's a lot better than doing a phone call. You
Yeah,
can
for
see
sure.
the person, and I think that's mainly the whole thing. But like there are levels, right, of like being with somebody and how much you can really experience. So when you're touching them and together, that's like the ultimate. But I think for, what you're doing with your class, and I feel like somebody like, ooh, I might be interested in definitely taking something like that. But I feel like, oh, so maybe during this time we can work on ourselves instead of it being about everybody else all the time.
Hmm.
It kind of makes us take a step back with all this distance, I guess you could say, if you want to keep it in a positive light. But how have you been doing with like constructing your business online? Uh, like that must be so different for you.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I think with my designation, though, I'm still able to practice in person. So I do still have a private practice where I can see clients, which is great because sound itself is such a palpable experience. Yes, we can do it online, and intention is it's so powerful that um, you know sound waves, they oscillate and pulsate outwards beyond the human capacity to hear.
Hmm.
And so they never end in essence. And by
Oh,
setting the intention, we can direct the sound waves to penetrate whoever we're working with, whether it's on Zoom or, however,
oh,
however that works. But sound is a palpable experience, especially when you're sitting in front of a gong. You feel the sound waves caress the
yes.
dermatomes,
Mhm.
right? The skin
Yeah,
layer, right?
yeah, you feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So that's a totally different experience. It's
Okay.
not better, right?
It's just
There's no
what it
good,
is.
no
Oh, okay.
bad, right? It's a different experience. So I find people really have powerful sessions when they're able to sit in front of a gong or have a healing session in person. And as for where do people begin? Well,
Yeah.
that's completely
Interesting.
up to you.
Oh,
There's so many different modalities out there, whether that's talk therapy or massage therapy or
mhm.
however you're going to get in touch with yourself is ultimately it's to each their own, right?
Okay. Well, how did you start? Like, how did, you went to school for all of this. So, like, you actually know what you're talking about more than it got to be a craze. The one, like, the yoga thing. And that's what really opened it up for me. I was like, "Man, maybe there's something to this. Like, literally everyone in the world is getting into this
Hmm.
because there needs to be more than just being on TV or being successful or having people think you're awesome. Like that that doesn't really compute anymore to anybody's like it's like, are you a good person? Are you good to work with? Are you going to care about me when we're working together? I think people are pushing to that more now
Hmm.
because it's smaller and they have to choose different people to work with in that sense. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I see a shift in the world, and a shift between women as well. Um,
Hmm.
I saw this hilarious like video of this gal named her name's Pepper House, and she's a salon in Calgary, and she's very beautiful. And I've worked with her before, so I'd followed her, and she was like, "Hey, I don't know if you knew, but women now we're supporting each other. Yeah, letting you know. Okay, don't worry about it. Just get yourself together. Okay." And I thought hilarious like that she said that because hurt. It's like a shaming kind of like, honey, you're out of the loop. Like to, inspire people to realize what's up. And I felt
Mhm.
kind of not shaming, but like I felt kind of like, yeah, like as soon as I seen that, I was like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, she's totally right. Yeah, don't be doing that. Like you can't be saying mean things about people anymore because nobody needs it. It's not good for anybody. It just transfers on to you on half the time. And the thing about like, we're all one. I really do feel that
Mm.
with that one energy source. I think we all come from it, like, and then we're pieced out. I have no idea, I don't know anything, but I do know about the moon cycles. Sometimes I'm into
You
the,
froze on me.
oh no worries, I'm into um the moon at this. I have a book and it shares that like when the full moon is happening, it shares when each day the moon is set, like what's up with the energy from that. And sometimes our period cycles can be different. Sometimes our moods can be just negative when we wake up. Sometimes everything can be crazy. And sometimes I try to follow that and be like, is the moon a good today? Like, is Pluto on Libra? Like, or how, I don't know any of that kind of stuff, which I hear you talk about. What is that? What is the words for like that education of energy and mood? Like, what is all of that?
Well, you're talking about astrology, and astrology has been around for thousands of years. It's an art form, and it's a science, right? Like this is something that you would study, and it's not necessarily my forte. Like it's I know some, and I do study it, but astrology is like an in-depth science to really understand how the planets are affecting us, our bodies, our
Yeah.
personalities, the energy within collective consciousness, right? Like what's going on in that sort of way. And depending on how the planets are moving and what your personal birth chart looks like, it can be totally different from you to me to the next person, right? Like because we
Day to
all
day of your birth. Yeah.
we're
What
all
what is that? Why is that? The like Pisces, they're always known for being fun and kind of crazy. And then the the Cancer is normal or like more calm, or I don't even know the truth of that. But what is that? Is that a science of sorts, or is that more like the astrology of like your birthday? Like I kind of think there's a little something to it. What do you think?
yeah, totally. Like this is we're opening up a can of worms here,
Oh, okay, okay. All
right?
right, audience, you're lucky. It's
So
cool with all this
if
guy.
you're to look at your birth chart when you're born, that time, that place you're born is divided into a chart. So it's a circle and it's divided into 12 different houses. And each of the planet in the sky, so the sun, the moon, the Mars, Mercury, Venus, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, they're all within our chart. And each of these planets has to do with a certain area of life, right? You think of Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication. Okay, so that's in your chart. Now there's a sign underneath that planet. And that's how that starts to depict on how you communicate. Now there's a sign underneath Venus that starts to depict on how you are within relationships. Sign underneath Mars, that's how your drive shows up, how your maybe aggressive tendencies show up, right? So there's all these different, yeah, it's like
Well,
way
it's
more.
within us. Yeah, we're kind of constructed the way we're gonna be when we have choice always, but
For
that
sure.
initial reaction and how we feel, it is who we are, I guess. Huh?
And that's just a blip on astrology. Like there's way more
Just a
in
blip.
depth. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so when you said, okay, I'm getting really serious about this, I am going to go to school. What was that like? Like that must have been a way different schooling that you never thought, like a lot of science, you said, yeah?
Yeah, so when I first got in, so I've been in the holistic industry for over 20 years.
Mm.
I first got in 99. I started to study plant medicine, aromatherapy, herbology, a little bit of heavy hitters, right? Psychedelics, that sort of stuff. And from there, I started to get into like Reiki, all the energetic kind of modalities. And it was it was so out there back then. Like
I
people,
know.
yeah.
I know. I can't believe how it's 190. I remember when you started doing this kind of stuff, and Jordan Gooden did some photos with you like during that time, or so, and you just looked so gorgeous. Oh my God. Really beautiful pictures, guys. We'll show them in the video on for the screen for people. But you were kind of like always that kind of gal when I met you. Obviously, if it's 20 years, I'm so sorry I didn't even know that about you. But your art, like you always would go, any event or any time we're on set, like I always like was drawn to you because I was like, oh, she's so nice, like she's not gonna like be mean to me.
Aw.
People are sometimes, right? In film, you don't know what to think if you should approach them because, like, on set, sometimes they're in their own mindset, and like it's so nice when people are like, "Hi, how are you?" Well, good. Who are you? Like, what's up? And you're just like, oh my God, they're talking to me. Especially at my time when I first met you, where you were one of the stars of the project, and it was just like starting, and so I couldn't believe like I was doing hair. So like when I was doing your hair, it was a complete facade. I didn't know what I'm doing for hair at all.
You
So I said,
did a great job.
my friend Angela White had hired me for that, and it was a big cast, and they needed more help, right? They had Lisa Bellier as the makeup artist and main gal, and so I said, like, what? I've worked with like Lisa, like on real projects, like I'm gonna be with her, like, but I didn't really get to work with her. Really, we all did our separate people when we had to. But when I'd met you and worked with you, just so fun. And I think we even mentioned something like, oh, you're such like so calm and quiet, and like you're just different than everybody on set. So I
Aw,
never like forgot about you. And
that's nice.
it's nice, but it's just like it's what you bring to the table. It's not like just a compliment. It's kind of like when you walk around, that's who you are. You're just like a very floaty, nice. "Hi." You just don't get into messes with people and stuff. And I feel like I want to be like that.
Well, you have a great energy too.
Everyone does, yeah. We're all unique and special. But I think with who you are as a staple, like with what you're doing, it's so organic. And I'm just like, I'm gonna be taking your class because I
Hmm.
want to open and heal from being adopted and stuff and all of that. So I just feel kind of like, what else is something, that we could chat about? I kind of wanted to mention like women and like
Mhm.
how women can work together better without the ego and the jealousy and the what if she gets higher than me, or if I don't get that role, or what if they get seen more on social media, all this stuff that I don't care about. But it is a really big thing. How
Mhm.
do you secure yourself within your self-conscious of being confident where you're not affected by others? I think you're like that, where it's like
Mm.
some people, maybe you including me, I have a few dogs around, sorry, get affected so much by others,
Mhm.
and it's just like if one person wants to look at me wrong that day, it's like, why did they do it? And then it's like a whole thing, and then everything that's happened to you comes back. So that's, I think, when you need healing, when you're
Mhm.
so upset from just everything. The strongest people in life I know, the worst things can happen or be said about them, and they go, let them think, it's none of my business, I don't care. And they keep
Mhm.
going. I'm like, you don't care that they like tell me to send that to you? Like, what? I would die. So you're kind of like that, a very strong woman. Like I could see that within you. It's like you're a medicine woman or something in back in your day, or something's going on. So
Mhm.
it's like the strength that you came from that. How did you find that in like that instance where you were like, okay, I'm going to take this to the next level? Like what happened to you in your life, if you want to share that got you where
Mm.
you are now? Let's talk about it.
Um, so much has
Yeah.
happened to me in my life, and yeah, it hasn't always been easy or roses. It's there's been a lot of challenges in my life, and I think with age comes wisdom too, right? And so I look at like if other people are going to say stuff or anything like that, it has nothing to do with me. It's everything to do with them. And so when they're coming from that place, whether it's envy, jealousy, and hurtfulness or anything like that, it's like having more compassion for them because of whatever they're going through is ultimately we're like our world is our world, right? Like we're like in our own stuff. We have no
Yeah.
idea what the other person is going through, right? It could be something that's you're triggering that person in a way
Yeah.
that's making them look at something deep within them. And sometimes people don't want to look
Yeah.
what's going on
Hard.
inside, so they're going to lash out, right? And that's I think that's what you know how I've come to view if anything if anyone's gonna say something bad about me, and of course I hope not. Like
Nobody says nothing bad about you, but you know, in life, everybody talks to each
I
other.
would be hurt just saying
Yeah,
like
you
yes
would.
it
Yeah.
does hurt me,
Yeah.
but as after we have our human emotion, because we are human, we're gonna
Yeah.
have our emotions, to step back and go like, okay, maybe this doesn't actually have anything to do with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It normally doesn't because I always say to people like that speaks more about them than you. If they feel like they can do something that's going to really hurt you and they want to, I feel like then they need to step back and realize that this person isn't good for me. Like some people will say like, "Oh, this person's the best friend ever." And then the next person like that knows them that's their friend says, "I freaking hate them. They did this to me." And it's kind of like, well, each to its own, like you said, and not to worry or compare and just to live our path or whatnot. But that's a big one, to talk about because I feel in the industry and independent industry, there's always this like, they did something like if they post something, then it's like everyone's like, oh, they think they can put out a show. Like, oh my God, like it's probably so bad, but yet they'll watch it and they'll be the fan. They'll be looking at you on Instagram, but yet they don't speak to you ever. And then they want to just judge something behind the scene. And I just hate these kind of people, Celeste. They're the worst people for me, where they're not honest with you and they look at you and they go, yeah, it's so good seeing you. Oh my God. It's so high school. And I feel like, honey, if you don't like somebody, don't speak to them. Don't talk to them or connect with somebody, but also out of respect. Sometimes I say to myself, trying to get in somebody's life, and if unless you have something really to offer, a real connection, there's no point. Sometimes people they want to talk to you just because you're famous, right? Or they seen you on this, or you know this person, you could do this for them, or you have a business like you do. And it's kind of like they can't just be honest to you and say, Celeste, like I really want to do this with you, but I don't, like I can't right now, or blah blah. But they just like will stay so far away, or they'll end up frustrated that they couldn't work with you or something. What is that? Like that's kind of the same thing that we just talked about, hey? Like the frustration not really even about you.
Mm-hmm.
So how do like people should let go? And I think something of meditating and I think that's actually a few modalities that we've taught the audience today that
Mm-hmm.
they could use if they have this kind of issue because everyone has social issues. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you ever find that like people they'll say to you like, "Oh, I really like you, so like I want to help you out. I'll do this." But if they didn't like you, then they're not going to even speak to you or ever give you that chance when they see your screen come across the screen of, "Oh yeah, let's include her." So like being authentic, I think is the only way for anyone to like you because then they know what they're going to get themselves into. They'll go, "Oh, Celeste, it's going to be like." I think the
Mm-hmm.
definition of like friend or something is somebody that you can rely on and is always the same. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the definition of friend. Oh, okay. So when you know somebody is like what they're gonna do, like how they're gonna react and like their line, of how crazy they're gonna get to how loving they're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I just felt kind of like there's so much to personalities and how we all interact that really affects another.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we all really need to work within in order to be okay to like people say that with relationships, right? To have a boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. It's like if they're not whole within themselves, how can they really give love to somebody else? And I think that there's something to that for real, hey? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. It's like, versus trying to bring someone else in to fill the circle, right? Having two circles come together within a relationship, if that's what if that's what you're talking about, you
Yeah,
know.
like a twin flame or somebody that just instantly gets you when you meet them, and then
Mhm.
you just love somebody. Like some people it takes forever to love them, sometimes you never love them, and sometimes it's just there. So
Mhm.
I feel like when it's not ever when things aren't so forced in life and it just comes to you, like you said earlier, and you just let life kind of show you where it's at and you keep doing what you're doing. I think those people that live that way, that don't have expectations so much on people as well. That aren't just like meeting them just to do one thing. It's like when you meet somebody, you're meeting their soul. You're meeting their past life. Like even if they're not famous in any format or can't offer you whatever you hope to create with them or something, um, each person has something to share and to say, and that could change your life. Sometimes like a homeless guy I was talking to in Victoria not too long ago, talking to me about life and how he got there, and I just thought to myself, Joe, like, better keep yourself on track, because like at any point, like anybody could be freaking homeless, right?
Mhm.
Like it's hard surviving in this cultivated like city world, and now I'm kind of out in the bush a little bit, and it's been a 360 of how I feel. Like I'm not as upset, and I'm working on the next issue, and I'm ready to receive what people want to give me. There's like a line, that I'm not crossing anymore, of like giving all myself to somebody where it's like I'm crushed if it doesn't work out with them or something.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are kind of some things I wanted to talk to you, like almost like an interview in like a personal way, like a session, because
I
I
love
feel
it.
how many people like could talk to somebody that understands this for real. It's not just like, yeah, babe, be strong, believe in yourself. Like, yes,
Right.
wonderful. I love hearing this. But there's a science, like you said, behind it. And
Mhm.
so somebody like you can like dissect everything. The reason, something happens is not always the reason that's presented to you, right?
Mhm.
And then you can heal from that, I think. But anyways, let's get more into your website and what you offer for
Mm.
classes and for everything that you're interested, that you're working on with your clients right now.
Mhm.
What can we do with you these days?
Yeah, well, I offer a few different things. I offer a sound healer teacher training program, and that came about because I was seeing a lot of people pop up and using sound tools, which is great. We need these sound tools, but kind of in an informed way. And so
Yeah,
I
that's
really wanted to create something so that we could understand, the art and the science behind how we're using sound as a healing modality. So I offer that. I usually teach level one, 4 times a year, and then level two, I'll teach once or twice a year. And then, other than that, I offer different gatherings. Of course, we're not doing gatherings
you're like, oops,
now.
that's a bad word right now. Yeah.
But I have a
That's
few
fun.
different offerings that I do when we're allowed. So different types of ceremony, whether we're working with goddess energy and calling that in, activating the goddess within. Um,
Ooh.
I do a lot of gong ceremonies. I have quite the collection of gongs that I work with.
Mm.
Um,
What's that
yeah,
thing that you use and you tap? I love that when you play that online. It's so cool to watch you do
so
that. Yeah, I see it right there.
yeah, it's a steel drum. That one's a Rav drum. That one comes out of Russia. That's their own design, but there's lots of hang pans out there. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so my collection is quite vast. I have a collection of gongs, I have a collection of drums, bowls, whether they're alchemy bowls or Tibetan bowls, tuning forks. And so the basis of my practice is really a private practice where I work one on one with people,
mhm.
and that can be super different depending on who's coming in, right? We kind of assess like what are you wanting to work on, what's your intention for
Okay.
being here, and then we go from there. Whatever is going to come up, whatever is going to clear, and if I get any messages, I'll pass them on, and we'll use whatever tools kind of being called in for that day. Mhm.
So, like the tools that you use and in crystals, that's such a thing as well. Like, are you into that as well? You got like a boatload. What is up with crystals? People who don't
They're
know anything about this
fantastic.
stuff, like they're beautiful.
They're beautiful, shiny things.
yeah. You carry them around with you sometimes and you wear them. Like, what's going on with that? What's the meaning? What does it do?
Crystals, they all have their own energetic imprint. Just like you have your own energy, I have my own essence, right?
Yeah.
Crystals have their own essence, their own energy. And so they all tap into different properties. And whatever crystal we've got with us is kind of bringing that energy field to us, right?
Mm.
So yeah,
Oh,
you can use crystals for various reasons, whether you're, like wanting to work on your heart chakra, right? Like if you have some wounding, you might want to carry rose quartz because that's going to soften any grief or anything like that you're holding on to. Citrine is great for like prosperity, calling in abundance, right? Like that sort of stuff. Black stones like obsidian or um, onyx are very grounding, right? So if we have a tendency to like not want to be in our body, right? We're very out there, heady, right? Like always
living out
living in
the next
in-
moment. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Maybe we need to be a little bit more grounded, so we would use you might just want to carry something like that or crystals have a way of like centering you so that bringing you more into the present moment, deepening your meditation practice. There's so many ways to use
So
crystals.
beautiful. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I just love talking about this because it's something deeper, I
Mm,
think. It's not just like, hey, how you doing? Well, I got this and that. Yeah, I'm feeling down. I'm gonna drink. Like, it really is a lifestyle.
mm,
By the action of sometimes doing things that remind you. I just like realized that, like with the stones, even if you're not like into it, I think, oh, so this is helps with this. Okay, I'm gonna. So it puts tunes in your head that you're trying to activate and trying to help yourself because we can
mm,
only help ourselves. You know
mm,
what I'm saying? Like you can help us as much as you can. You could change our whole life. But if we don't take those modalities, those lessons, and actually like do it every day ourselves if we need that, then like how we can actually heal. So it's
mm.
always up to us to actually change if that's what we want, you know?
True. Very
Yeah.
true.
Talking to you, I feel like it's like a counseling session,
Mm.
honestly, but like deeper than just talking about why do you feel this way? Which is always good to ask, but it's more like at this moment, sometimes you like when people react and you're like, why would you like even get upset? That's so weird. But they're not reacting to that. They're reacting to like the trigger of something happening. And I
Mhm,
wish that people could openly talk to people. Like when they say, how are you? You could say, well, in the past 3 days, I've been very low energy and this is how I've been feeling and this and that. And they would, it wouldn't just be like, oh, I'm not good. Because you can't heal from that. And somebody, when they ask you, how are you doing? Half the time they want to just hear you say, oh, I'm good. Thanks so much. Anyways, let's get to what we want to do. But I think that's wrong. I think
mm,
before you even say, okay, let's create something, let's do something together, there should be that like meditation together where you like sync each other and your alignment works so then you can actually create what you want instead of going around so much having to fix it and
mm,
being more centered to the goal at hand. And I think those kind of meditations would really help people if they try it.
mm,
Yeah, I'm speaking more for people that are new and don't know what this is at all
mm, mm,
because I think everyone should get into holistic healing and their own spirituality for sure. What do you have coming up within your arts world? Like you mix it. Like you could make like a show doing what you're doing right now, your virtual show, or even like I'm just like pushing that for you. Who knows if you want to do it, but
mm.
you could do that. Like with
Yeah.
everything you're doing now, like it's so authentic. I think people would be really into watching you.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Art wise, there's, I've been working on some meditation tracks. So I've released a
Mhm.
couple different healing meditation tracks, which you can find on SoundCloud under Celeste Mele. And I'll continue to put those out there for people. And I'm not asking for anything. It's just my way of offering, my way of giving back,
Yeah.
and something that I really enjoy doing. So it's kind of what I've been putting out there. As for like the entertainment industry, I've had auditions here and there.
Mm.
I had a role last year that I did on a project out in Edmonton. And as for my own stuff, I haven't told anyone this yet, so you're the
Ooh,
first to
I'm
know.
here with it, sharing the news.
I have been working on my own screenplay,
Hmm.
and that's all I'm going to say about it
I know
because
everyone's gonna come at you after that. Hey,
that
Celeste, come in.
that's where it's at.
Good for you.
It's kind of in the beginning stages. I've been working on it for a couple months now, and so when it's ready to get a little more, you'll be the
Yeah.
first that I let
Oh,
know
I
what it's
can't wait.
about. And yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
but
wait.
it's definitely centered in my world because you
Okay.
write what you know, right? And
Yeah, I could see you being you as a character for a show or something. Helping
hmm.
people, but like it'd be funny, maybe the ups and downs that she goes through. Maybe I don't know. I have no clue. I heard some good news about we never talk about like you're so young. You're like look like you're 30. So I'm just like, but you have
Great.
a teenager that has been accepted to a really big school. Is this
Yes, yes, my
news? Have you been
daughter
posting this?
turns 18 in June, and she is quite the talented artist, visual artist. Uses ink, watercolor, paint,
Oh, I'll
plethora.
be
It's
good.
obviously beyond my scope of expertise. So, but she's quite talented, and she's been accepted into Emily Carr out in Vancouver. So I'm really proud of her, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because she is you and you are her. So it's like
Mm.
your children like are so important. I don't know how other people feel about like their kids, they're in trouble, or whatever. But with you, like, oh, you just love your family. Your life
Yeah,
is centered
she's
around them. So
yeah, she's amazing. Hmm.
yeah, that's wonderful. She's beautiful too.
Yeah.
Of course. But
Of course.
Celeste, thank you so much for your time today. Like,
My
please,
pleasure.
everyone, check out Malay on social media. The photos kind of share exactly who you are and what to
Mm.
expect a little bit. So people are going to enjoy your music too. We'll make sure that the audience gets to hear your own creation. Like you're becoming a music healer almost. If you put out a CD, like I want it like right away because they
Okay.
could use
Will
that.
do.
They could use that like during your sessions maybe or by themselves. Let
Yeah, totally. Hmm.
And then with the music being similar to when they're with you, it'd feel like that you're with them kind of, and it would be like practice for after you're not, if you can't be with them at that moment, because you should do it every day, right? But
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, guys, look up Celeste Malay and good luck for the future of everything that you're building.
Thank you, Jill. It was such a pleasure to talk with you and sit with you, and thank you, my soul sister.
Oh, thank you for your time for me. I just feel like you are a very busy woman, and yeah, I will let you on your day, my dear.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.